While we personally know very little about Star Wars, it's shocking how easy it is for someone to fall to the dark side in the Star Wars universe and in real life. Such was the case with a few Hawaiians of Japanese ancestry during the Second World War. While we've told this story before, we've come a long way since then, and it's just one of those stories you want to hear time and time again. In this video, we discuss the tragic, incredibly weird Ni'ihau incident. Before we delve into the incident, let's set the stage. It was the 7th of December 1941, and if that date doesn't ring a bell, you really need to watch more of our videos. At 8 in the morning, Imperial Japan delivered a sucker punch to the United States, laying waste to Pearl Harbor on the island of Oahu, Hawaii. Though Hawaii isn't as small as you might think, and one of its 137 islands went the entire day without hearing a thing about America's fiery entry into the Second World War. That island was Ni'ihau, which had a population of just 136 at the time, one less than the number of Hawaiian islands. In fact, there were so few people living on Ni'ihau that the Japanese thought the island was uninhabited and designated it as a landing site for aircraft damaged in the attack on Pearl Harbor. The downed pilots would be picked up later by a submarine. When Japanese pilot Shigenori Nishikeishi's A6M20 was lit up in the attack, Ni'ihau must have looked like a pretty sweet deal. However, he probably would have preferred not to crash land, just as the residents of Ni'ihau probably came to wish Nishikeishi had died on impact. As Nishikeishi was coming on, his landing gear clipped a farm fence and his Zero went nose first into the earth. Nishikeishi might have thought he had drifted off into the forever sleep, but he soon came to consciousness, being dragged out of the wreckage of his Zero by a native Hawaiian named Hawilo Kaliahano. While the island of Ni'ihau may have been blissfully unaware of Pearl Harbor, Kaliahano was no fool. He knew Nishikeishi was Japanese, and he knew that Japan and America weren't exactly schoolyard chums. He took Nishikeishi's GAT and papers, which included some important intel, and called out for help. It came quick, and with Nishikeishi in surprisingly good condition, but not speaking a word of English, his Hawaiian helpers called over an elderly Japanese beekeeper who had immigrated to the island sometime prior. The beekeeper was named Ishimatsu Shintani, and after he had absorbed what Nishikeishi had said to him, that Japan had kicked the beehive that was the United States, he left without saying a word. Confused, the locals called Ni'ihau's remaining two residents of Japanese ancestry, married couple Yoshio and Irene Harada. Like Shintani before them, the Haradas fell silent when Nishikeishi broke the news. Inside their minds, however, betrayal was stirring, and it would come to a violent, bloody crescendo. The local Hawaiians weren't thinking about getting lit up as much as getting lit. On the night Pearl Harbor burned, they got out the rum coconuts and started making pina coladas, hosting a party for the bewildered Nishikeishi, who only wanted his papers so he could get back with his crew. It's safe to say that he ruined the vibe when he wouldn't stop harassing Kaliahano, the man who dragged him from his Zero, to return his papers. And it's safe to say that the vibe was well and truly dead after the residents of Ni'ihau learned of Pearl Harbor later that night. Corking the rum, they decided they would detain Nishikeishi for the night and ship him off to be some other Hawaiian island's problem in the morning. Unfortunately, with Pearl Harbor still smoldering, the US military had banned all boat traffic between the islands, so Nishikeishi was stuck on Ni'ihau. One of the locals' biggest mistakes was allowing Nishikeishi to stay with Yoshio and Irene Harada while they figured out what to do with him. To their credit, however, they did post 4 guards at the property. Chilling with Yoshio and Irina in their crib, the three of them got to talking in Japanese. Nishikeishi, the sly devil, rolled a nat 20 on his persuasion check, and the Haradas agreed to help him get his papers back and get off the island. On the 12th of December, the beekeeper Shintani tried to sort it out peacefully. offering 200 doll hairs to Keiichi Ohano in exchange for Nishikashi's papers. Keiichi Ohano, the baller, declined, and back at Harada HQ, things were taking a turn for the worse. Without even wanting to see if Shintani had been successful, Nishikashi decided that if he was going to go down, he was going to go down swinging. He and Yoshio attacked one of the guards while Irene played Sabaton on her phonograph, masking the sounds of the struggle. Overpowering the guard, the men locked him in the warehouse in which Nishikashi's gat was being stored and where there was also a shotgun. Cocking a shotgun shell for no good reason, the pair made tracks for Keiichio's crib near where Nishikashi's Zero had crashed. On the way, they took a local captive, ready to leverage them if anyone got in their way. When they reached Keiichio's, Keiichi was in his outhouse taking a dump. Not thinking to check the crapper, Nishikashi and Yoshio gave up looking for him and went to the Zero instead. While the men were busy, Keiichi finished wiping and gave it legs. As he ran, he heard a shotgun shell go off behind him, but he wasn't hit. He fled to a nearby village and started spreading the word that the Haradas had gone mad. People started evacuating, going into hiding on the island, and Keiichi snuck off the island on a rowboat to get reinforcements. In the meantime, Nishikashi and Yoshio stripped the machine guns from the Zero and then burnt Keiichi's house to the ground, trying to destroy Nishikashi's papers now. But Keiichi had been about to use them as TP and had taken them with him when he went to warn his people. Nearing morning at this point, Nishikashi and Yoshio continued running around like a pair of crackheads with chrome, taking more hostages and even sending one hostage out to track down Keiichi for them. Instead of doing that, the hostage ran to his mate, and together they snuck back to wherever Nishikashi and Yoshio had been chilling and stole their machine guns. In the morning, Nishikashi and Yoshio found one of the thieves, one Benehakaka Kanehele, or just Ben, and took Ben and his wife, who we'll call Ella, hostage. They should never have messed with this particular couple. While Nishikashi was passing Yoshio the shotgun, Ben and Ella went ham. Ben fell on the men, and as Nishikashi reached for his pistol, Ella grabbed onto his arm. Yoshio then ripped Ella off Nishikashi, allowing Nishikashi to bust a cap in Ben's groin. He also shot him in his belly and leg too, but Ben wasn't dead or even down. In his own words, "I got mad, I picked up the pilot and threw him against the stone wall and knocked him cold." While Nishikashi was unconscious, Ella seized the initiative and caved his head in with a rock. Maybe overkill, maybe not. Ben then proceeded to saw open Nishikashi's throat with a hunting knife. Yoshio did the only logical thing at that point. He turned the shotgun on himself, blowing out his guts. For his bravery, Ben received the Purple Heart and Medal of Merit, but poor Ella, who had actually scored the kill, got stuff all. Yoshio's wife Irene and the beekeeper Shintani were taken away. While Irene spent around 3 years behind bars, Shintani was sent to an internment camp and eventually allowed to settle on Niihau. The beekeeper, after all, was a pretty chill guy. What is perhaps the most tragic part of this story is just how quickly the Haradas betrayed their neighbors, a lesson in itself for the US. Despite showing absolutely no previous anti-American sentiment, the Haradas were convinced to betray the US in just a matter of days. With all this in mind, it's pretty easy to tell why the US looked at other Americans of Japanese ancestry with a lot of suspicion, especially with Pearl Harbor still smoking. But we want to know what you think. Do you think the American internment camps were overkill? How would you have handled a situation like this in wartime with all the Americans of Japanese descent in your country? Let us know all that and more in the comment section below. And just before you go guys, I do want to plug once again our new Braved channel. We've hit 10,000 subscribers and we've got around 9 videos now on the channel that are just really high quality, and we plan to keep updating that library every week where we go through some of the most badass people from all different eras. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, make sure you check it out. If you just want to listen to some music, go check out our Relax Jack music channel where we use some of the music posted there on this channel. And if you want access to a behind the scenes Discord where you can chat to myself and the team who help make the videos and get access to some exclusive videos, then consider donating to the Patreon. And if you just want to join our wider community, make sure you check us out on that Discord server, Instagram page and Facebook page, all in the description below. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something new.